Hey guys, today we're going to be making chicken marsala.
Let's get started with our ingredients. So I'm going to be working with boneless, skinless chicken thighs. Traditionally for this recipe, you'll see most people recommend chicken breast, but I like thighs for this recipe. Sometimes when I work with chicken breast, it can tend to dry out, and I tried making it with thighs about a month ago, and it came out really good. So I'm going to show you how to do it with these. Okay, so the one of the more important ingredients for this is mushrooms. There are a variety of mushrooms you can use. I'm going to go with cremini mushrooms here. I have 2 shallots, some garlic, rosemary, and fresh thyme. These herbs are optional, but I think it's a nice touch to have those flavors in there. Something else that's optional that I really like, it's from Trader Joe's, is this Umami seasoning blend. I think it goes really well with the mushrooms that I'm going to be adding in. I'm going to use some dried parsley. And I should mention, traditionally you could do fresh parsley, and I just don't have it on hand today, so I'm just going to go with the dry parsley. But if you have fresh parsley, that's totally good to add. I got black pepper and salt. Of course, the other staple is the Marsala wine. I have some cream here, and I have olive oil and some butter. Both of those I'm going to use in this cast iron skillet over here in a moment. And let's see, I have chicken stock or chicken broth here, and some all-purpose flour that we're gonna use in the mixing bowl. And I should mention, I'm actually making chicken stock from scratch on the stove right now. So chances are you just want to go out and grab a can. This is Swanson's, a good brand to grab. But alternatively, you can just make it in a saucepan. That's what I'm doing right now. Just had some leftover chicken thighs, so I just threw the bones in and added some herbs. So I'm gonna go with some homemade chicken stock. All right, let's get started. Okay, so to get started, I'm going to clean the mushrooms. I think the best way to do this is take a damp paper towel or damp cloth and just to wipe them down. So just give them a good rub with a damp cloth. And that's what I'm going to do now. And so I'm always going to start with my fresh ingredients on a clean cutting board. And when I'm done with that, then I'll go to prepping the chicken over here, the raw ingredient. Or alternatively, what you can do is just have 2 designated cutting boards just so you separate the raw meat. But yeah, so I'm just going to clean the mushrooms first. I think the best way, like I said, is with a cloth rather than rinsing it so they don't soak up all that water. And then I'll cut up the shallots, the garlic, and the herbs, get that ready. And then I'll show you how to prep the chicken. So I will be right back when the veggies are prepped. Okay, so I finished prepping the vegetables. I have the mushrooms cut up here. You can see they're not cut very finely. They're still kind of big, which is fine because it's going to cook down once I get it into the skillet. I have the fresh herbs. I have rosemary and thyme, some garlic, and the shallots there. So what I want to do now is I want to start prepping the chicken. These thighs happen to have a bit of fat on them, so I'm just trimming some of the fat off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take each individual piece, and I have this mixing bowl with flour in it, and I'm just going to lightly mix it in and rub it so I get some flour on each side. So I'm going to do that with each piece that I have. And in the meantime, what you can do is once you have the chicken prepped, you can get your skillet or pan heated up on the stove. So I'm going to do that now, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so I just set the burner to a medium heat and added olive oil. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a tablespoon of butter right into the skillet, and that's going to melt in. And so I'm going to give it a minute or two, depending on how hot the burner is. In my case, mine doesn't run super hot. But then I'm going to add each individual chicken piece. So the idea is you want olive oil in the beginning, and you're going to add incrementally butter as you add chicken and other ingredients. So I'll be right back with the chicken, and we'll start getting them browned on each side. And then we'll follow up with some of the vegetables. Okay, so now that the skillet has warmed up, I'm going to add in some of the herbs. And the burner is a little too hot, so I'm going to lower it down. But yeah, I got the rosemary and the thyme in there. And I'm going to take each individual piece of chicken and put it right in there in the skillet. I'm going to do this in batches because the skillet I'm working with isn't too big. So it's going to be about 3 to 4 minutes on each side. Because we're not working with chicken breasts, it'd probably be closer to 3 minutes. These are smaller pieces in the thighs. But I'll check back in with you in a few. And what you can also do now is you can add some of the seasoning. You can add the umami. And I'm going to hold off on the salt to the end. So you could add umami and black pepper now. You could also add salt now, but I tend to wait till the end to add salt just to see how it tastes without salt being added. I tend to favor more of the herbs and other seasoning. Alright, I'll check back with you in a few. Okay, so it's been a few minutes on each side. You can see the chicken is brown. Now, the chicken's not going to be cooked all the way through, so I want to set it aside in this other bowl, but the thing is we're going to add it back in later. So I kind of have like a little assembly line here where I have my raw chicken, skillet, and semi-cooked chicken. And yeah, just keep in mind this is technically still a little bit raw because we haven't cooked it all the way through. So now I'm just going to add a few more pieces onto the skillet, and I will cook these. I'm going to do the rest off camera in terms of cooking the rest of the chicken. You don't need to see me keep going through iterations, but I'll check back in when I'm going to add the mushrooms to the skillet. Okay, so what I just did was completed the first step in terms of browning the chicken, and I added a little bit more butter into the skillet. And so what I'm going to do now is add some of the mushrooms. If anything, I may have bought too many mushrooms. I have almost a pound. You probably can get away with like a half a pound for this recipe. And I'm going to add the shallot. So the idea here is I just want to mix it up. Get all that good flavor in the skillet from the chicken and the herbs. And as I had mentioned earlier, I didn't cut these veggies very small, but they'll cook down a bit. You can turn the heat up a little bit now if you want. I'm going to give it at least 10 minutes. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of the garlic, and we'll be ready to add the marsala at that point. So I'll check back in with you in about 10 minutes. Okay, so after about 10 minutes, I just added the garlic right into the pan. And occasionally what I'm doing is I'm adding a little bit of butter. So every few minutes or so I added a little bit more butter incrementally. And so I'm at the step now where I'm going to add the marsala. And so you want to be a little bit careful when you do this. Either you remove the skillet from the burner or you turn the burner off. So I'm just going to add it in now. I turned the skillet off very momentarily. Alright, cool. Alright, so I'll put that back on at a low heat, and what we're going to do is we're going to let it simmer, and we're going to let it simmer for quite a while. At least 10 minutes. I'm actually going to go a little bit longer. I'm going to go more like 15 to 20 minutes. Let the wine cook off for a bit, and then I'll check back in with you. We're going to add some more, we're going to add chicken stock, and then the last step will be we'll add some cream in. So check back in a few. So it's been another 10 minutes, and the marsala cooked off quite a bit. And what I have here is homemade chicken stock, so I'm going to add that now. It's just shy of a cup, so you want to aim for about a cup. Just so happened that I ended up with a little less than a cup based on what I had on hand. And of course, you could just use a can, pre-made, pick it up at the store. It's probably the easiest way to do it. That's usually how I do it. I just decided to go with homemade today. All right, so I'm going to give this a few minutes, let the chicken broth cook in with the marsala, with the veggies. Check back in a few. We're going to add a little bit of cream, and then we're going to take the chicken and put it back in with the sauce, and it's going to be good to go. Okay, now that it's been several more minutes with the chicken stock in with the marsala, the final thing I'm going to do for the sauce is I'm going to add a little bit of cream. So I have 1 cup here. You don't have to add that much, and honestly, you don't even need to use cream at all. It's just really up to you how you want to do it. So I'm going to start with a few ounces because I actually ended up with 8 pieces of chicken, and so because I don't have a large cast iron skillet, I'm going to have to do this incrementally. So I'm just going to add a few ounces of cream in, and what you want to do is take each piece of chicken and add it back in with the sauce. And also incrementally, you can add a little bit of butter. You just want to let it sit there in the sauce and mop it up and cook for anywhere from 3 to 4 minutes. And just to be safe, if you want, you can use a meat thermometer to check that the chicken gets to 165. All right, so I'm going to do this incrementally, and I'll check back when it's all done, and I'll show you the final product. Okay, this is our final dish, chicken marsala, and I'm serving it with rice. Alternatively, you could serve it with mashed potatoes or different forms of pasta. Hope you guys really enjoy. Please like and subscribe to my channel.